You're listening to Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go.
Hello. Today is the day. We've been talking about it for weeks.
For long enough. Yes. Today's the day you can get over people pleasing.
Well,
you can start at least.
You can start.
Yeah.
We're only going to be opening the doors for members for 1 week. You have a week. The countdown timer starts today.
Not only that, there's a countdown within a countdown because we have an early bird price until Monday. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can save $300. That's a lot of money.
Substantial.
If you sign up by Monday. So also we're giving people the option for a limited time because we have obviously a limited capacity to add on a single coaching session if you want to at a very discounted rate when you sign up. So
we cannot promise you how long that's going to be.
Yeah, we'll probably take that down at some point before enrollments close, just because I can't do an unlimited number of single coaching sessions, of course. But
if you sign up today and you really want a coaching session, I'm sure you'll be fine. But I don't know. I don't know when that'll be gone.
Right. We don't make promises we can't keep.
Exactly.
Because we know our limits and our boundaries. And we don't over promise.
Because, well, I was going to say, I've gotten over a lot of my people pleasing, and Rachel
never really had it.
In fact, honestly, I think that's one of the coolest things about our people pleasing course is you're getting two different perspectives. One from someone, myself, who has been a people pleaser for my whole life and had to constantly work to override my default tendencies, but then to also hear from someone who has not had as much of a struggle and what some of her guidance and wisdom about how to not do it, because that's what she's used to. So I think that's kind of cool. I don't think you hear that dual take very often.
It's usually kind of one or two people who've just struggled with something indefinitely and, oh, I finally got over it. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's fine. That's great. But variety is the spice of life.
And we can learn from people who haven't had to work so hard at something.
That's true. All right. So, if you're someone who, here's the thing about people pleasers. Everyone knows for the most part that they are one, and they know what they know what they shouldn't be doing, but they're still doing it.
Yes.
So this is not about learning, oh my gosh, I had no idea. It's about no, you shouldn't care what people think, but you still do. And you wish you could speak up, but the thought of confrontation makes you literally clammy.
Mm-hmm.
You're hard on yourself all the time.
You wish you didn't care how other people interpreted you, but you can't help but play over and over in your head. What are they going to think if I ask this question at work? Or what are they going to think if I speak up and have a different opinion? And you paralyze yourself.
You want to know where you end and where other people begin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These are all things you already know. This is not news to you. It's just
people
you need to make a change, but you need accountability or else you're not going to do it. That's all. Yeah. You just need a lot of accountability and some strategies and tools and things to make it translate from this is an idea to this is a reality.
Mm-hmm.
You need a bridge.
Yeah. Knowing you're a people pleaser is knowing that you need to eat healthier. You know it. You need to
go to bed earlier.
But it's really overwhelming to try to figure out like, well, what does that mean? What do I start with? It feels too big. Also, I really like my comfort foods and
or honestly, sometimes it's not even complicated. You're just not doing it.
yeah.
Like going to bed earlier is ostensibly not that hard, but you just can't make yourself do it.
But there are other things that it can be a bigger thing than it sounds like. And sometimes you need people to help you figure out, how am I going to do it? How am I going to stay accountable? And how am I not going to fall back into my old ways again? So that's what we're doing. This is not a theoretical course on people pleasing. This is not like, let's deeply understand the concept of people pleasing. We're going to get over people pleasing together in a group.
If you want a little preview of what we're going to get into in the course, we're going to talk about week by week. We're going to talk about stuff like how your personality type contributes to people pleasing, because there is a very clear pattern, Enneagram wise, that makes for the worst people pleasers. And we're going to talk about which type of people pleaser you are. We're going to explore this. This sounds really heavy, and it's not. It's actually, I think, a relief, exploring childhood wounds that keep you stuck and then letting them go. Yeah, it's cathartic is what I would say.
It's my clients who have done it recently keep telling me they feel so much more compassionate for themselves after this.
We're going to learn how to weather discomfort and ride through guilt, right? Like breathe through the emotional plank that's going to require of you. We're going to focus on independence. Like, again, we talked about that line where knowing the difference between you and everyone else, which means being able to like set boundaries and say no and handle confrontation. And then the last thing we do is focus on interdependence, which is kind of coming back together with other people, but in a way where you're still able to maintain your sense of self. So learning how to speak up and put yourself out there and take action imperfectly. Yeah. So it's simple, but it's powerful. 4 weeks. And the best part is because we're doing it sort of as a group experience, you get to post questions and comments and stories and get responses from us and other people who are going through it. And of course, you have access to it forever. So if you don't go through it right away or you don't keep up the pace that we're keeping, that's fine. But it is nice to go through it with other people if you can.
Yeah. And we are going to push you in this course, but we're not going to push you too far too fast. It's not going to feel giant and overwhelming and terrifying, because I know that getting over people pleasing sounds really scary to us people pleasers. So you're going to stretch, but you're not going to hurt, because we're going to take stair steps. And we've designed it specifically so that what you're doing is attainable and reasonable and a little bit uncomfortable, but not terrifying. So we're going to work our way up. So don't stop yourself because you're afraid of what we're going to ask of you. I promise we're not going to ask too much too soon.
No, I know how not to overwhelm people from the beginning. It wouldn't make a good coach if I threw you in the deep end too fast.
And I know the people-pleasing fears very intimately, and how your brain will talk you out of doing things if they're too hard. So we're going to go at a slightly uncomfortable but not terrifying pace.
Okay. So link in show notes, or you can go to clarityonfire.com and go to the Work With Us tab and go to the Getting Over People Pleasing page, and you can read more about it and you can sign up. And remember, there's a countdown timer on that page too with that early bird discount.
You will know when that $300
it will expire, and we will change the price on the site. And then there will be no like, oh, but I missed it. Well, you can still sign up. It's just going to be a little bit more. So we got an early bird deadline for a reason. We want to get the most excited people in right off the bat. There's already an intro video you can watch as soon as you get in. There's homework from the beginning.
Even though we're not technically starting until Monday, April 15th.
April. Wow. Such April. A long time from now.
Long time ago.
Wow.
Sorry, another A month, August 15th. I don't even know when in the year I am.
Month.
Yeah. We're going to start on Monday, August 15th, but there's work for you to do ahead of time. We have an intro video. We have a workbook exercise for you to do right off the bat. And we have our community, which we want you to start posting in there and introducing yourself right away. So you don't have to wait to actually take the first step.
You don't have to wait 10 days. You can start now. Okay. Well, we're excited to meet some of you. And again, if you are a current client, you want to go through it, email us. That's part of the perk of being a client. You get to do this stuff with us, not charging you hundreds of dollars to do it. And also, if you have gone through the course in 2019 or 2020, the last times we did it, and you want to do it again, and you want to get the emails as we're sending them to everyone, and then just
join the group, the community and all that.
Yeah. Then just email us and we will add you to this round. Contact at Clarity on Fire.
A little bit of brushing up. So if you need that, we're here.
Okay. Now on to Dear Krachel.
Dear Krachel. Okay. I'm going to jump right into
Do you want me to read this? Do you want to read this?
I'll read the first one.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Hi, Kristen and Rachel. I'm a business owner that worked my tushy off to make my dreams of owning a successful business a reality. I have a great business partner who works extremely hard, and I have great staff. The business has grown quicker than expected and is way ahead of where we thought it would be only a year and a half in. But I am miserably numb. I don't have the passion for my business anymore. I struggle to drag myself into work. I struggle to work on the business from home, etc. I'm really struggling to care about growing it further or even care about things that don't go well. I just feel like I've lost all ability to have an emotional connection to the business. I don't know why or how this happened. It was literally like I just woke up one day and didn't care. I've tried taking a vacation, changing my role, going to therapy, but nothing is helping. I should be happy that I finally got everything I asked for. So why am I so bummed? Is there a way to change this? From Bummed Entrepreneur.
To work your tushy off, only to end up on your bum.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Okay, well, here's the thing, Bummed Entrepreneur. We can only suggest potential diagnoses. And by diagnoses, I don't mean literal.
Really, I have more questions than I have answers, but
we can make some suggestions. I have ideas for what might be going wrong here. My best guess, this is my intuitive sense, is that for a really long time, this was your goal. And you poured a lot of your hopes and your dreams and your expectations and your feelings into this, potentially to the detriment of other areas of your life, right? Like you were single focused on this as your goal. You might have been numbing or shutting down other feelings or other grief or difficult feelings that were coming up because you were just pouring all of your energy and everything into this. And then, like so many people the world over who have experienced success, they get there and they go, oh, this didn't make me feel how I thought this whole time I was going to feel. And now I am mourning and I'm having an existential crisis because I don't know now what the point of all of that was if it wasn't going to make me feel the way I expected it to make me feel. Like that, people say that all the time, all the time.
This is why we spend so much of our podcast asking people not to put their career or whatever it is that they want on a pedestal. Because when you do that, there's this expectation that when I achieve it, when I get the thing, then automatically I'm set. I'm happy. I'm good. I feel fulfilled. It's also one of the reasons why in our one-on-one coaching with people, we don't do goal setting. We go a lot deeper and we explore what's underneath of it. What do you really, really want? Not just the surface level. So my question for you, Bummed Entrepreneur, what did you think you were going to feel when you reached this level of success in your business?
What did you think you wanted?
What are you mourning that you expected to feel that you're not currently feeling? And that right there, I think is going to shine a big spotlight on what's really missing. Because you thought the successful business was missing from your life, but then you got it and something else is still missing. So we gotta look.
And but it feels worse
because you thought that was the answer.
You have more contrast now.
Right. And you expected
Yeah.
that this was going to solve it, and then it didn't. And now you feel more discouraged, understandably.
Right. Because now you're
And
like,
you worked really hard
well, what
to
the
get this.
hell? Right.
Now, I don't know what's going to happen when you answer that question. I hoped I would feel blank, or I expected to feel blank, because the answer is going to determine what you do next. Can you remain in the business, but change something to get closer to how you really actually want to feel?
Yeah.
Or do you need something completely different? I don't know the answer to that yet. I don't even know what your answer is to how you really wanted to feel. But we have to start there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The business isn't filling the void, as most things don't.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to figure out, what is the void? We have to name it. And then we have to figure out how to go about addressing it in a way that is not necessarily from an outside in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Not from a, okay, well, great, let's just create another business, or
Right.
well, maybe a relationship will help. But kind of like dive into your own void. I'm glad you're in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
That said, how long have you been in therapy? Is your therapist any good? Just ask, just being real. Not all therapists are good. Not all coaches are good. So if you've been in therapy for a while and you feel like this isn't helping, could be one of two things. Your therapist could be not very good and not helping you. Listen, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe what you need is not therapy. This could be a coaching thing. Like sometimes I find when people are like, no, I don't need to process how I feel anymore. I need to do something different. Then that's when coaching usually takes
and
over.
Therapy have different intentions. And we've talked about this on other episodes, but you go to them for different reasons.
Yeah. Or maybe you have a good therapist, but the problem you have isn't really one that your therapist is qualified to address. You know, not all therapists are good at existential crises. Sometimes they're good at helping you process like trauma, but like they're not good at like maybe like seeing your career woes as a spiritual crisis, which I often see those things as very linked. Like I'm having a deeper crisis of meaning and purpose, and a therapist is not always the person who helps you discover your life's meaning necessarily. So I'm glad you're
seeking support.
Yeah.
To help get to these answers. We just want to make sure you're getting the right support from the right person.
That's one potential. That's my best bet.
That's my hunch too, frankly.
But there are other possibilities here.
I feel like, first of all, we would be remiss to not acknowledge the fact that you could be having a passion profile misalignment.
You absolutely could.
Now, you sound like a fire starter to me.
Partially, at least.
At least partially. But first of all, you may not be. So that might be part of the challenge. I have absolutely had clients who thought I should start a business because everybody in their family was entrepreneurs, or
just the idea of all that freedom.
And maybe they were actually a thriver and they wanted all this freedom. Turns out having a business was a bunch of responsibility, which thrivers don't tend to love. And they completely lose interest, or they turned their passion into their work. And now it killed the joy of their passion. So I'm not saying that is what's happening, but I am saying if you haven't taken the quiz or you haven't taken it in a while, maybe do that and see how your results match with your current work experience. Because if there's misalignment, we might need to address that too.
For sure. That could absolutely be part of the problem. And the other thing I'll say, and I think this is not as likely, but just this, how quickly you say it happened is interesting to me. You're just like, it's just like I woke up one day. My guess is it's not so much that it changed on a dime. It's that it got to a tipping point where you noticed it finally, but it had been slowly drip, 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 drip that whole time. And it just, the bucket finally overflowed and you noticed it only when it overflowed. However, if something changed that quickly, it's also possible that this is less about your business and more about something else that's going wrong or sideways in your life. And maybe you don't feel like you can control that as much. And so you're pouring maybe some grief or maybe some uncertainty and feelings about something else. And you're maybe like projecting it onto your business, potentially. I mean, for God's sake, you also could have like, I don't know, again, not diagnosing you, not a doctor, a vitamin D deficiency, right? Like there are chemical things that could just change and like someone wakes up one day and they just feel different. I'm not suspecting that's what's happening here, but we can't say that for sure we're right about any one of those things.
Sure.
So I got to throw out the options.
Yeah. And there is also a chance that all of the work that you put in to grow this business to where it is might have just burnt you out.
Yeah, you could just be burnt out.
And a vacation might not be enough to really heal from the burnout that the last however many years has.
You said you worked your tushy off.
And we're familiar. Rachel and I did the same thing to ourselves in the first couple of years of business. We worked so hard to get this thing, to put it out into the world and to make a business out of nothing. And we were burnt out for years. I'm not exaggerating here. Like for years, we had to coast for a little while because it was such a big effort.
Yeah, to the point where I definitely considered quitting.
Absolutely. It's been 10 years. If you think we haven't considered quitting in 10 years, that's insane.
We just never did it.
No, we never did it because at the end of the day, we do love it, but we had to figure out our limits. We had to figure out how to build it in a way that we would keep loving it and evolve as necessary so that we would keep loving it. So part of this might just be, we need a longer break than a vacation.
And maybe you're not honoring your limits.
Yes. And maybe you are a fire starter who just pushes and pushes and pushes.
Yeah.
And even fire starters, they have a lot of energy. They have a lot of passion. Even they can hit a limit. Everybody can hit a limit.
Everyone has limits. It's not like you can hit a limit. It's you will hit a limit at some point.
Limit, and you have to recognize them. So you might need more in-depth healing from real true burnout than just something like a vacation or a slight break.
It's just
we'll do.
On that note, pro tip for everyone. Your body and your mind and your spirit don't give a shit about your vacation time. You know, like your body, mind, spirit needs do not conveniently align with how much vacation time you are allotted every year, or how much time you deem worthy of taking off. Right. So when you go on a vacation and you're like, but I went on a vacation for 7 days, and your body's like, hello, I need a 6-month sabbatical or else I'm going to shut down. It's not going to just accept a 7-day vacation. Like be like, oh, well, she tried. No,
good enough.
That's not how it works. A lot of us, and I get it. Go back to our side chat from last month where we talked about what to do when you're tired of being tired. I understand that it's not easy to necessarily give your mind, body, spirit what it needs when you also need to make money. And you also have a certain amount of time that you can take off and no more than that. But I can't know that there's a huge discrepancy between those two things and not at least call it out and make you aware of the fact that your body and mind and spirit don't conveniently fit into the boxes that you've assigned.
Like that should be enough. I took a vacation. I should be healed now.
Who says? Well, because that's convenient for you, because that's the only time you could take off. So sorry, you got to heal in this time. If I break my leg and I say, you know what, I only have a week to heal this. Guess what? It's not just going to magically heal itself because I only have a week. Nah, it's going to be like, no, we're going to take 4 months.
You might need a sabbatical from your own business.
And that would be fine.
That's part of, you get to be the boss.
If you have a supportive business partner, perhaps you might need to arrange some kind of like, I need to step away. Like, and you know what?
And you may never know if you really have lost your passion
if
for
you
it
don't step away.
until you step away. Because
100%.
If you step away and you don't really want to come back, well, that's your answer.
Right. And we're
but
talking
you might start to miss it.
Yeah.
If you take a long enough break, you might start to miss it. And that might be what you needed.
All right. Well, I think
we've given a lot to chew on.
Yeah. I think we've given enough. So
please come back. I feel like I have a lot of open-ended questions or ideas. So please come back. If something really resonated in particular, I'd be curious to know.
Yeah. Answer some of our questions.
Yeah, please.
This is curious. Every time it's like a one-sided coaching conversation where we're just not getting feedback. So we're trying. Okay. Dear Krachel, I've worked hard over the years, internally and externally, to get to a point where I was able to attract a job into my life that I love. It's definitely a 9 or 10 out of 10 on the scale, but sometimes this fear pops up that I can't suppress, that I can't have the dream job and the dream relationship at the same time. Like I need to lose one to have the other. I've done enough personal development work to know that this is a limiting belief, but I don't know how to let go of it. What guidance do you have Angelica?
I have multiple things to tell Angelica.
Me too.
First of all, it's kind of wild to me that you have proven your own ability to know yourself so well that you were clear on what your dream job was, and then to attract it and to be thriving in it. So you magnetize that into your life, but now you don't think you can repeat the same thing on the relationship front.
That just tells
you just proved how good you are.
That just tells you where her limiting beliefs are.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about, it was easier for her to believe she could get a job. She got a job. Same damn thing. And yet, oh no, this must be harder. And so I probably can't have both, right? It just shows you that the relationship stuff is where she's got more baggage.
Sure.
Which is fine. We all have more baggage around something.
And it definitely sounds like you have an upper limit problem, Angelica.
I'm going to link to our episode about that from June 2020. It's a side chat called The Dread of Good Things.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I can have this much, but I can't have all of it. I mean, I can have, that should be enough. That's plenty. I don't know if I could have all that. So you hit your own ceiling.
Yeah.
That was self-imposed.
Premise of an upper limit problem is just that humans have a very low tolerance for happiness before we start freaking out and thinking that the other shoe is going to drop. And so then we'll end up almost self-sabotaging by just worrying and actually sometimes literally sabotaging ourselves, not just thinking about it, but then doing something to sabotage ourselves because we're actually more comfortable in our current situation, even if it's not as ideal, than we are with tolerating the unknown of being happy. And then what if we lose it, right? We have further to fall. So it feels harder.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes you question your worthiness. Do I really deserve all that?
Yeah. Oh, sure.
I deserve that level of good. I'm pretty good, or I'm pretty worthy, but all that, I don't know if I'm really that deserving.
It'll make your inner critic really question you on every level.
So part of this is expanding your capacity to receive good things.
Yeah.
And trusting that if you receive good things, there's more where that came from.
Yeah. You're more likely. I mean, let me just emphasize that again. You are more likely to get a 10 out of 10 relationship if you've already gotten a 10 out of 10 job. It just proves you're capable of getting a 10. So why wouldn't you be able to get a 10 anywhere else?
And you're probably so much happier and more fulfilled in your life now than before the 10 out of 10 job.
For sure.
Which means you're going to be more attractive to your 10 out of 10 partner because you're already living a life that you're pretty happy with.
Right.
Okay. So part of this might be an upper limit problem. Part of this might be a worthiness problem. Part of this might just be your logistical brain being like, well, but how do I have both? Because both take a lot of energy and a lot of time. And so I'm almost wondering if part of this is like a dream job feels consuming and a dream relationship feels consuming. How can a person have both? Wouldn't you have to sacrifice one or over the other? So if that's going through your head, I want you to recognize that your definition of a dream job your definition of it needs to include the fact that your job supports and makes space for the important relationships in your life.
Yeah.
And vice versa, that your 10 out of 10 dream partner will want to support you in doing your 10 out of 10
or
dream
else
job.
They're not a 10.
Or else out of 10. By definition,
yes, we get to define what a 10 is.
Must be compatible in order for them to both truly be 10s.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, you don't live in these silos. Your life is a whole big experience. And if the pieces don't fit nicely together, they're not the right pieces.
Yeah.
So you get to define a job that is too consuming is actually maybe not a 10 out of 10 because I also want time and energy and space for my partner and vice versa.
Yeah. Right. So in other words, don't define a 10 on its own. Define it in context of the rest of your life. A 10 relationship must include consideration of your health and your career and all of the, right? Like that just makes sense. And the same is true. I think we do that with relationships. Like we're more likely to consider, okay, well, my dream partner would be very supportive of my career and they would share all these values with me and blah, blah, blah. We don't necessarily do that in reverse, but we should. We should say, okay, well, a dream career will support my health and wellness by not having to overwork, right? And not having to work overtime, or it will not take away from a relationship because it's not going to leave me so stressed I don't have anything to give to somebody else. That's what will make it a 10 for me.
If I want to have kids one day, or if I want to have a family, or if I want to travel or live internationally,
how can it support that?
My dream job, my true dream job would support my other goals in my life. I have a client right now who that's a goal. She wants to live internationally at some point for an extended period of time. Her dream career would not be a dream career, but then I also want this other thing, and I can't have them both. In order for them to both be the right fit, they have to play nicely together.
Well, and her dream partner, if she wants to meet that person tomorrow, needs to be someone who would be like, yes, let's live internationally. Or some hot man she meets in Spain while she's living there.
Sure.
I mean, great if you can get it.
Exactly. Everything plays nicely. That's how you know it's actually a 9 or 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So not only can they coexist, I would argue in order for them to both be true 10s, they must coexist, or they must have the ability to coexist.
Yes. Okay. So this is really just this is the same. I just want to add, this is the same as when people say, I can't make money and do something I love. It's just this very deeply ingrained puritanical belief that life can only ever be so good, and that you have to choose between survival and like being pragmatic and having fun and enjoyment and pleasure, because pleasure is inherently the opposite of work and the opposite of being responsible, which is so stupid. You actually make way more money and you're way more productive when you're playful and you're having fun. We know this.
Right.
So it just requires the same level of willingness to just not think in a binary, and to do what I do with my clients, which is when they say, I don't know if I can make money and do what I love. I'm like, not only can you, we're not going to settle for anything other than that.
Right.
Like they're like, well, what if, Rachel, what if I find like the perfect job, but it doesn't pay me enough? And I'm like, it's not the perfect job.
Right. Just like, wouldn't the perfect job pay you adequately?
Right. Exactly. Or Allison Armstrong, the relationship expert, she jokes about this too, where people will tell her, Allison, like, but I'm not the perfect man, but I can't be honest with him about what I want. Cause what if I scare away the one? And she's like, if you can scare him away, he's not the one.
Right. What if I find someone I really, really like and they don't like me? I'm like, I think the one will like you.
If they're the one, if that even exists, then they're definitely not going to be scared away by you. So same thing goes here.
Yeah.
Like it's not an either or, it's a both and it's in order for that to be a 10, it must be true that I can have both.
Yep. But on the way to having both, you might need to up your threshold for how much you can experience joy, which is a great homework assignment for me to give you. Like,
I wish someone would give me that homework assignment.
In a little bit more joy and deal with the discomfort of more joy, just little by little. Let it in.
Yeah. And you know what? I bet you can look back and say that you've already done that with your career, right? You didn't start out at a 10, you worked your way up to that. It became more and more and more comfortable for you to believe that I can have this, that I'm worthy of this, that this is great. I know this person, Angelica, didn't start out probably on day one thinking, this is great. No one's going to fire me tomorrow. Like I'm sure there's a lot of anxiety and insecurity.
Imposter syndrome.
And so great. You've already gotten over that. You can keep getting over it. Just
in the name of more joy. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Question 3. Dear Krachel, should I feel guilty if I'm seriously considering quitting my job on the spot with no notice? I am so disengaged and a change would do me so much good, but I don't want to be cold. What do you think? This is from A Quitter with Qualms. I do like alliteration.
I love when people say, should I feel guilty? And my answer is always no. No, literally never. Like the answer is never yes. You should feel guilty.
So guilty for that.
I mean, unless you murdered someone, then yeah, maybe you should feel guilty about that. Right?
I mean, unless they were attacking you, then I don't know if you feel guilty.
Definitely don't.
You can feel
proud of yourself.
You can feel upset that you had to kill someone.
Oh, that too. Two approaches. Neither is wrong. But no, come on. The answer is never, yeah, I should feel guilty. Now, let's break this down. Okay. There's no right or wrong answer here. Let's start there. I don't believe that people often think of companies the way companies think about us. And this is a place where we do need to be pragmatic.
Yes.
Because a company, as much as they might say, oh, our values are that we're a family and that we treat you like you're one of us, they can fire you tomorrow with no notice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're allowed to have that same approach if you want to, because that approach could very easily be wielded against you. Now, that also sounds kind of like tit for tat. Sounds very like eye for an eye. But I think sometimes we almost over-humanize the company as a whole. And I think it behooves us to not necessarily be overly accommodating to an organization that may be taking advantage of us.
I know many of us have people-pleased organizations.
Absolutely.
Our company. So if that is behind this, if the main sense of guilt is, oh, they're going to think badly of me, or, oh, they're going to think I'm cold. And you're only giving 2 weeks notice or whatever, just because, well, that's just what you do. And I want them to think well of me. And this is going to rip out my very soul, but I'll give it to them just to be pleasing and to not cause a stink. Then, I mean,
and stink it up.
Is that really worth it? Like, come on.
Maybe not.
Now, I do think we have to be a little bit realistic that if you quit with no notice, there might be consequences to that.
Absolutely.
And that whenever you don't people please or don't give somebody else or an organization what they want, there will be consequences. And you get to decide if those are worth it or not. So the consequence might be you might burn a bridge.
Yeah, if you quit tomorrow and give no notice, yeah, you might just burn a bridge. Are you okay with that?
Maybe you don't care. You're like, I never want to cross that bridge ever again. Burn it down.
Sure. All right.
Great. Fine. If you don't want to burn a bridge, okay, then maybe we can find some kind of a balance. First of all, keep in mind, you also don't have to give 2 weeks just because that's the norm.
Unless you signed a contract stating that
you signed a contract, that's kind of different.
Yeah. So make sure you didn't sign anything. Again, not a lawyer, not a doctor. But you might want to make sure, because they make you sign all sorts of stuff on orientation day. You might have forgotten that you signed something. So I don't know. Pro tip.
Check the contract.
Check those documents.
But if you did not contractually agree to give them 2 weeks notice, then 2 weeks is just a random number that someone came up with a long time ago, and we just all have it in our brains.
Yeah,
you can give 1 week's notice. You can give 3 days notice. You can give a month notice. You can give however much notice you want. That is completely arbitrary and up to you. Now, what I would actually ask yourself is, instead of, should I quit with no notice? Should I feel guilty? What will they think of me? Will they think I'm cold? Those questions are not particularly helpful or relevant.
Because it's all about how people are going to perceive you. It has nothing to do with what you actually want or what is going to be best.
A better question would be, how do I leave this job and stay in integrity?
With myself.
With myself. And there might be certain things that you'll say, I'll feel better about walking away if I have put a bow on this, or if I have set somebody else up on my team to take over my responsibilities well, or if I have said my goodbyes, or there might be certain things that will let you leave on your terms and not run out the door escaping because you feel guilty and upset and burnt out and just wanting to run away and then feeling kind of weird about it, or staying and resenting and wishing that you could leave any minute and the frustration's just eating you away. Both of those are not on your terms. Both of those are reacting to the situation instead of saying, how do I want to walk away with it from this and feel like that was it. That was me dealing with this in the best way that I had. And if that is, I will leave with no notice. Like, I feel like I've wrapped up what I need to wrap up. I feel like they'll figure it out.
My soul is dying this is so toxic and I can't take another day, then fine.
More time here is going to be so harmful to me and not helpful to them that it's not a win-win for anybody. Like,
right.
Everybody will lose by me staying. Fine, go. Bye. But that's the question I want you to ask is, how do I leave and feel like it was on my terms
and then
in the way that I wanted, and that I feel in integrity with myself and the situation?
And then let me tack onto that. And then how many days, how much time do I need in order to fulfill that goal?
You might say, I need 48 hours.
It might not take 2 weeks. It's a
Wednesday. I can get this in by Friday. Right. I can leave and feel good about where I left things. Okay. Great. Do that. Nobody said you had to do 2 weeks. So I hope that helps. We want you to not feel pressured one way or the other. I want you to focus less on how others will react to your decision and more to how can I look back on this in a year and feel like, yeah, I handled that well. I feel good about how I handled that for myself.
Mm-hmm. First and foremost, which is not selfish. It's just, I'm my own best advocate. No one else is going to make me get me out of a toxic job or a really bad situation except me. And so I want to do that in a way that honors my needs, but potentially also set someone else up for success or doesn't burn a bridge if that's my desire, not to burn a bridge. But you got to ask first and foremost, what do I want? What's going to make me feel best and serve my goals and desires? And not, should I not do this because I'll feel guilty? Mm-hmm. No, we never make decisions because we're motivated by guilt.
And if you're feeling guilty about quitting at all, that I want to completely alleviate your guilt about quitting, period.
We had a blog about that. I'll link to that.
Yeah. I also just want to note in response to that, you have already said that you are so disengaged. So let's be honest. This is definitely not serving you. You are not winning from the situation, but frankly, neither is your company.
Yeah.
If you're that disengaged, you're not the right person in this role. So by you leaving, they have a chance to get somebody in there who wants your job. And that's going to be good for that person and good for the company. And you get to go get a job that you want to be in. Like, let's relinquish the role to a better fit. And that, in the end, is a better choice for your company. Now, how you choose to do that and how much time you give them and all of that, in the grand scheme of things, is that really going to disrupt the entire functioning of this company?
No, because they're not going to have someone in 2 weeks anyway.
Right. If you give them 2 weeks, they're not going to have your replacement all set up. I mean, I'd be highly surprised if they did.
Yeah.
But the real bigger picture, because I think that's what our brain does. It's like, my fear takes over and I focus in on how much time should I give and how many days? And it's like, not about that. It's about, am I serving the company and is the company serving me? No, it's not a win-win. Let me move on and let me open up a space for them to get the right person and for me to get the right job. And that you should feel an integrity about. You should feel good about that decision, even if anyone else tries to make you feel guilty for leaving. That it's not a win-win, which means it's a lose-lose.
Remember, guilt. I said this in last week's episode. So if you haven't listened to that, please go back and listen to our bonus side chat about 5 surprising things about people pleasing. If that's what we call that. One of those 5 things was guilt is a normal symptom of having boundaries and advocating for yourself. Mm-hmm. So the goal is never to completely alleviate guilt before we take action. Mm-hmm. That guilt is normal if you are an empathetic person or just a person with empathy. A functioning human typically feels guilt if they're going to leave a hole somewhere that someone else might have to fill. In the best of times, leaving a job will probably put someone out or inconvenience someone for a little bit. That's also the way it goes. That's also life. That's running a business. That's being a boss. Like, that's part of your job to deal with that. And so you're allowed to inconvenience jobs when you quit, regardless of whether you give them.
You will.
Absolutely.
You will. And that's okay. And that's part of the agreement.
Whether you give them no notice, 2 weeks notice, 8 months notice, you're probably going to inconvenience them. By the way, please don't give too much notice. I mean, I know every situation is different, sure. But I've seen a lot of people pleasers give too much notice, thinking this will be so
give
helpful.
Them 3 months or 6 months notice.
And then they'll get piled on with work because they're trying to squeeze every last bit of work out of them before they leave. And it's so unreasonable.
And I've even seen people pleasers give 6 months notice and then say, but it's, it can be flexible. If it needs to be another month. And then you never leave. They get their little hooks into you. So have firm boundaries. Absolutely. And you can decide what those are. Nobody can tell you this is the quote unquote right thing to do. You have to decide that. But yeah, don't overdo it because you're so nervous about quitting.
No, absolutely. We're not we're not over giving because we feel bad.
That would be people pleasing.
That would be people pleasing.
In which case, join our course if that's you. If you have done that and you're like, uh-oh, I definitely have done that. Or maybe I'm doing that currently.
Currently doing that.
You might need to join us.
Yeah. Okay. So,
and on that note,
link in show notes for getting over people pleasing.
As a reminder,
the early bird discount, $300 that you can save by Monday through Monday. I mean, it should be a no-brainer for some of y'all who resonated with that last thing.
Or a lot of what we talk about here. I think we bring up people pleasing.
I think people pleasing has so many little tentacles and everything that we just talked about. It's definitely got its little suction cup sticker things on upper limit problems. I feel like people pleasers have really, really low upper limit for joy and happiness because they're so focused on everyone else, what everyone else is doing. They're not focused on their own joy. They're not focused on their own self-expression, their own fulfillment. So they have a really low bar tolerating good things.
Yeah. Yeah. Because how will that make other people feel?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Might be too successful for someone. And I can't be successful. My mom would never accept me. I can't
people will feel jealous of me or people will feel disconnected from me or, oh my goodness. Yeah.
And of course, in the first one with being an entrepreneur who may or may not, I don't know, but it's possible that she has no boundaries and she's overgiving and she's overdoing it. And she's maybe saying yes when she shouldn't be. And
right. And now I feel like I have to keep being
in this business, I'm burned out
and I'm not feeling it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's at the root of so much.
It certainly exacerbates a lot of things. And some of it has its deepest roots in people pleasing. So we're going to get into all of it over the next month. So if that sounds like something you maybe need, definitely join us. Like I said, we'll be officially kicking off on Monday, August 15th.
Good job.
But we will have some stuff for you to do in the meantime and some people for you to meet in the meantime who are going to go along this journey with you.
Quick question. Okay. Unrelated to anything we just said.
Okay.
Earlier in this conversation, you said the word pedestal.
Yes.
But you said pedestal.
I know it's not pedestal. Did I say that?
You 100% said it just like you just said it. There's no difference. If I played it back audio against audio, funny. It's almost like I've heard you say that more than one time. So I was like, is this a different people say it differently? Or I'm like, is she doing the Latin where she's literally ped as a feet, stool, a thing you stand on? I genuinely was like, is that what she's doing?
To be honest, the word makes more sense as pedestal.
That's what I'm saying.
Literally putting something up higher than you, on a stool.
Your feet are standing on.
So maybe subconsciously, I just like that better because I think that it's more descriptive. But no, I don't actually think that's how it's spelled.
Well, I know you know how it's spelled. So I've noticed you say that multiple times.
I bet somebody in my family says it like that, and I probably picked it up a long time ago.
So you're saying it, but you're hearing pedestal.
Yeah,
but you're saying pedestal.
That's funny.
Yeah, you really are.
That's funny.
Yeah. I bet you other people are listening to this and they're nodding and they're going, I heard her say that.
Kind of like how you've always made fun of me for saying TV instead of most people say TV.
That's right. That's your dad.
I want to watch TV.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We should take a vote. Do you emphasize? Maybe I'll do an Instagram.
I think I'm in the minority.
Absolutely.
Saying TV.
But I have heard other people say TV. which I can hardly say it. It's so awkward because I'm like, do you want to watch TV?
Right. Yeah. Where do you put the emphasis? Well, there you go.
On the V.
Please give us your vote on are you a TV
I might
TV?
do an Instagram poll or something on that and be like, this is very important
curious,
research.
Like, am I just a weirdo or is this more common than I think?
I'm pretty sure that V is going to win. The accent on the V is going to win.
I know I get that from my dad. That's one of those things.
No, I've heard him say that too.
Yeah,
so that's fine. That makes sense. But who's going around saying pedestal all the time?
Probably him too. I don't know. We'll see. He's terrible.
That's not in his vocabulary. I mean, not that it's like a big word, but that's not a word that you have occasion to say as often as like, let's watch TV.
Couldn't tell you. I think it's subconsciously that I like the
Latin.
I think the Latin, but the imagery of it.
Ped, feet, stool, stand on a thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I was thinking that the whole time we were doing this, and I really needed to bring it up.
So distracted.
Well, not the whole time, but I really did flag it earlier. I was like, this is like the umpteenth time I've heard her say that. I need to ask her about that. And I might as well ask her on air where we can entertain other people with the answer.
Yeah, and get their opinions.
Yeah.
Get their take.
What do you say? Do you say pedestal like a normal person, or do you say pedestal like Kristen?
I never realized that it came out of my mouth that way. That's funny.
You're gonna have to listen back.
The joy of a
when
podcast.
I'm like editing this or I'm re-listening to this and I hear you say it unencumbered the first time, I'll send you a clip of it.
That's fine. Send me a clip. I never listened to our whole podcast.
Well, or maybe I'll tell you to go fast forward to this point and then you can hear yourself say it.
Unless I'm listening to an interview that I didn't do, then I might listen.
Sure. Well, it's fine. I mean, I've accepted that, but yeah, I'm definitely going to like isolate that and send it to you so that you know that I'm not making that up. That's what you've been saying.
Oh, okay. Well, with that.
And I bet you're going to do it again. I bet you're going to do it again completely unconsciously. Like this is not going to change anything.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I own it.
Okay.
I own it. I prefer my imagery. So we're gonna go
you didn't know it existed until literally right now. Now you're backtracking and you're going, oh, well, of course it must be because I have this unconscious imagery that I'm now assuming is there.
But now that I have it, I like it better.
All right. Well, that's not going to change how it really should be pronounced. So you can keep saying it like that and you keep sounding weird, but I'm going to keep saying pedestal.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.